The veiled threat across the stars, many names were feared, but none brought more silence than the name of the alien princess. She belonged to the powerful Drexari race, rulers of distant planets, holders of ancient knowledge, and keepers of secrets. No one dared to challenge. Her name was known, but her face remained hidden. No soul had seen it and lived to tell the story. Some said her face was cursed. Some believed it was a weapon. Some whispered that even the bravest warriors fell to. Madness after looking at her, the Drexari called her Princess Lyra. In their tongue that meant flame hidden in ice. The title suited her. She spoke rarely and ruled through the council, yet her will shaped decisions across entire systems. Her presence alone could end a negotiation. Her silence carried more weight than the loudest voice for many cycles. The Drexari ruled without question. Other species obeyed. A few tried to challenge their power, but all failed. No treaty lasted long. No bond with her people held firm. The fear of the unknown kept peace, but it was cold and empty. Then came Earth. The humans were new to the galactic stage. Their ships were smaller. Their voices were less known. But their spirit was different. Where others bowed to fear, humans asked questions. Where others turned back, humans stepped forward. This nature made them strange to the elder races, and dangerous in a way no weapon could measure. The Council of Worlds gathered once again in a neutral station near the edge of Drexari space. The topic was simple but serious. A border planet had become a point of conflict. The Drexari claimed it belonged to them. The other races disagreed. The summit was called to stop another war. All species sent envoys. Each envoy was briefed. Do not look at the princess. Do not speak unless asked. Do not challenge the rules of her presence. Her chamber was a place of danger. Even for those with rank and wisdom, the humans sent a single representative. His name was Elias. He was not the highest rank among them. He was not a scientist or a warrior. He was a former ship captain with a calm voice and steady eyes. When asked why he wanted to go, he answered with few words. He said he wished to listen. Other delegates laughed at the choice. The Drexari did not. They approved the human request without question. A time was given. A chamber was prepared. The day of the meeting came. The chamber was built of smooth black stone. No lights glowed from its walls. It was quiet, too quiet, as if sound itself stayed away. Elias walked in without fear. He did not wear armor. He did not bring translators or guards. He stood alone in the center of the room. From behind a glowing curtain of energy, a voice spoke. It was clear yet distant, calm yet sharp. It belonged to Princess Lyra. She asked him why he had come. He answered without pause. He said Earth wanted peace, but not through lies. He said humans wanted to understand, not control. She asked if he feared her. He said no. She asked if he wished to see her face. He said he did not need to. There was silence for many moments. Then the curtain glowed brighter. The air in the room shifted. Other species who watched from hidden screens leaned forward. They expected him to faint. They expected him to panic. But Elias remained still. He asked her a question in return. He asked if she had ever trusted someone who could not see her. She did not answer. Instead, she ended the meeting with a single sentence. She said the human would be called again. As he walked out of the chamber, the guards looked at him with wide eyes. He was calm. He was breathing. He was unchanged. For the first time in many years, the Drexari Council remained silent. For the first time, the princess had asked to see someone again. The galaxy watched with interest. Some called it foolish. Some called it luck. But a few began to wonder if the human had seen more than others ever could, even without using his eyes. The silent chamber. The news spread like fire through dry fields. Whispers moved across the stars. The human had survived. The human had spoken to the veiled princess and returned with his mind whole. He had not fainted. He had not screamed. He had not run. He had stayed calm and answered her voice with steady words. No one could explain it. No one had seen it before. Other envoys, many with long histories and high ranks, felt confused. Some grew jealous. Some dismissed it as luck. Others watched in silence, knowing something had changed. The Draxery Council, known for cold decisions, said nothing at first. But 3 days later, a message arrived. It was short. It said the princess wished to speak again. And she had named the human Elias. Received the message while sitting in a quiet chamber meant for rest. He did not show surprise. He simply nodded once and stood. As he walked toward the meeting chamber again, the eyes of many followed him. None spoke to him. None tried to stop him. They only watched. The chamber was the same. The black walls held no light. The air remained still. The glowing veil still hung in place, dividing the room. Elias stepped into the center and waited this time. Her voice came with less distance. It felt closer, warmer. She asked why he had returned. He replied that the invitation was reason enough. She asked if he believed he had passed some test. He said he had not come for approval. He had come to learn. There was a pause. Then she asked him a question different from before. She asked what humans feared most. He thought for a while and then answered. He said humans feared being forgotten, not death, not war, but fading from memory, losing their meaning, being left with no name, no trace. She remained quiet. Then she asked what he thought she feared. Elias did not guess. He said it was not his place to speak of her fear. He said only those who carry the fear truly know its shape. That answer brought more silence. Then, something strange happened. The veil of energy flickered for a breath. Not fully. Not enough to see what was behind. But enough to sense a change. A shift in the room. She spoke again. This time the tone was softer. She explained that her people had once tried to share their ways. Long ago, they opened their minds to other species. But every time, the result brought pain. Some who saw her face screamed. Others fell into madness. Some begged to be ended. None remained whole over time. Her people made rules. No one would see the face of the royal bloodline. No one would form bonds. Power would be kept behind curtains. Emotion would be hidden beneath logic. It was not cruelty. It was protection for others and for themselves. Elias listened without breaking focus. He asked if she ever felt lonely behind all the rules. She did not answer with words. Instead, the air grew colder. The lights dimmed further. The silence grew heavy. That silence carried more truth than any reply. He then said something unexpected. He said humans were used to being feared too. In their own history, many saw them as wild, dangerous, loud. But humans survived because they reached out anyway. Not with perfect hearts, but with the will to understand. Her voice returned. She asked why he spoke this way. He said because he believed that behind the veil, there was more than power. There was a person who had lived too long in shadows. She said nothing more. The meeting ended without clear result. But as Elias walked out, something was different. The guards outside did not look away this time. One of them, though silent, nodded once in respect. The human did not smile. He did not raise his voice. He only walked with the same calm steps as before. Later, inside the Draxery Council room, questions were asked. Some warned that the princess was lowering her guard. Others felt concern, but none dared stop her. She was royalty. Her will was not a matter of vote. She sat alone in her chamber, behind her ever-present veil. Her mind returned again and again to the words spoken by the human. He had not flinched. He had not begged to see her face. He had not even tried to know her secret. Yet something in his voice had reached her, and for the first time in many long years, Princess Lyra wondered what it might feel like to be seen not by eyes, but by understanding. The bond that shouldn't be whispers turned to talks. Talks turned to concern. Across the galaxy, ambassadors spoke behind closed doors. Some believed the Drexari princess was changing. Some feared she was slipping. Others thought she was being clever, playing a long game. But none could explain why she had called the human again. For the third time, a message reached the human quarters. Once more, the name of Elias stood alone. No demand, no request. Only a soft call from behind the veil. He accepted without question this. Time, as Elias entered the chamber, the door behind him stayed open a little longer. It was not by accident. The princess had ordered it. She had allowed a brief glance into her world. Nothing strange happened. No force pulled him in. No energy pushed others out. But everyone felt the weight of that moment. A rule had shifted inside. The dark chamber, Elias stood still once more. The glowing veil shimmered like starlight on water. Her voice came again, but it no longer held the cold edge of formality. It felt clearer now, less distant. She began by asking about Earth, about the seas, the skies, the forests. Elias spoke with ease. He painted pictures with simple words. He told her of warm rain and burning deserts, of mountain winds and laughing children. He spoke of Earth not with pride, but with affection. She asked about music. He hummed a soft tune. He did not know many songs, but the one he shared was slow and gentle. She said it was strange. He said that was why he liked it. Then she told him something no one had heard before. Her face carried. A curse passed through bloodlines. A genetic mark placed long ago by an enemy, now lost in time. The mark caused minds of other species to spiral when they looked at her. Not all died, but none remained whole. It was not magic. It was science twisted into punishment. A cruel reminder of war, but Elias remained quiet. He did not ask to see. He did not flinch. He only said that sometimes the worst scars are not on skin, but in silence. For a long moment, there was no sound. Only the low hum of energy filled the space. Then she said something even more unexpected. She told him that when he spoke, the weight in her chest lessened. When he sat still and did not judge, the voices in her memory grew quieter. She said no. One had ever returned 3 times without trying to claim power or demand answers. Elias said he did not come to claim or demand. He came because he felt drawn, not by mystery, but by meaning outside the chamber. The Drexari Council stirred. The elders debated. Some feared that the bond forming between princess and human might threaten tradition. Some called it danger. Some called it weakness, but they knew the law. The princess chose her path. None could stop her unless she broke the code, and she had not. Elias continued to visit. Each time, the conversations became deeper. She shared thoughts. He shared doubts. She asked him about fear. He said fear was not the enemy. It was a guide, showing where strength could grow. She asked about pain. He said pain was part of life, but love made it worth facing. No one spoke of love, but it hung in the space between them like a quiet fire. Not loud, not burning, but steady. She began to laugh. Not often, not loud. But once, when he spoke about human mistakes, she laughed softly. That laugh stayed in his memory, like the scent of flowers after rain at night. Elias looked at the stars from his small room and wondered if connection could exist without touch. If hearts could reach across veils stronger than steel inside her chamber. Lyra stood alone and placed a hand near the glowing curtain. She imagined a world where someone saw her without falling. Not just saw her face, but saw her soul. No orders were given, no promises were made. But both felt the bond forming, something quiet, something real. Something that no law had expected in silence. A connection grew between 2 minds that were never meant to meet. Between a princess cursed to hide and a human who refused to turn away. The choice beyond law, far beyond the chamber, where the princess and Elias spoke, trouble was rising. An alliance of outer worlds had gathered in secret. They were tired of Drexari control. They feared what the princess might become if her strange connection with the human continued to grow. These leaders believed she was no longer thinking like a ruler. They saw her silence as a risk. They prepared a warning and sent it across the galaxy. The message was clear. If the Draxari did not step down from the summit and return to their home, systems war would begin. No more patience, no more fear. It was time to break the chain that had held the other races in place for so long. The Draxari Council met in haste. Their voices filled the great hall. Many spoke with fire. They said the threat was bold, but not dangerous. Others said the Draxari must respond with strength. Some demanded that the princess remove her veil before the galaxy and remind them why. Fear had kept peace, but Princess Lyra said nothing. She sat still, eyes closed, thoughts deep when the room grew quiet. She spoke with a calm that silenced even the most powerful voices. She said the same old ways would only bring the same old ends. She said fear might stop war, but it never brought peace. The elders asked her what she planned to do. She said she would not lift her veil, not this time. Not in front of those who saw fear as strength. Whispers filled the hall. One of the older members stepped forward and reminded her that by law, she could not make such decisions alone. But she looked at him and said that if the law demanded blindness, then perhaps the law had no eyes left to see. The council fell into silence outside. Elias walked along the edge of the station. He looked out at the stars and thought about Earth. He thought about how wars had once shaped his people too. But they had learned through pain that silence between enemies only grows louder. They had learned that someone must speak when others hide. Someone must stand when others kneel. The princess called for him again. This time, he entered without the usual guards. No rules were spoken. No warnings were given. They sat across from each other, curtains still glowing between them. She told him of the coming storm, of the threat, of the council's fear. Elias listened. He did not speak until she finished. Then he offered something bold. He said he would speak in her place. He said, "Let the galaxy hear a voice without fear. Let them hear not from a ruler, but from a soul who saw truth without the need to see a face." She asked if he was sure. He said he was never more sure of anything in his life. The day of the summit arrived. A grand chamber was prepared. Lights filled the high walls. Screens floated in the air. Leaders from all known systems had gathered. Tension moved like heat across a dry field when Elias stepped forward alone. Many looked confused. Where was the princess? Why had the human come in her place? He spoke. He did not raise his voice. He did not make grand claims. He spoke like a man standing under open sky. He told them fear was not the answer. He said fear had no vision, only reaction. He reminded them that the princess had not attacked, had not threatened, had not demanded. She had listened. She had chosen to try a different path. And now they must do the same. He said sometimes the strongest power is not in what we show, but in what we choose to hold back. He said the veil was not weakness, it was patience. Some leaders scoffed. Some whispered. Others listened. A few looked at each other with uneasy eyes. Then, without warning, the chamber darkened. A new light entered. The glowing veil appeared at the center of the room. Princess Lyra had come. The chamber turned quiet as stone. She stood behind the curtain and spoke one sentence. She said that peace is not given by force. It is offered through trust. Then she stepped back and said no more. The moment hung like a blade in the air. Elias looked at her, still not asking to see her face. Instead, he bowed his head once and turned back to the crowd. The message was clear. There would be no fear this time. Only a choice. After the summit, the Alliance withdrew their threat. No war came that day. Something had changed. Not through weapons, not through pressure, but through one human who dared to believe that power can be gentle, and that truth does not need to be seen to be real. A face seen, a curse broken. The summit ended with silence, but it was not the silence of fear. It was a silence filled with thought. Old leaders returned to their ships, unsure of what they had witnessed. The Draxari, princess had spoken without threats. The human had stood in her place without armor or power. No battles had followed. No laws had broken. Yet the galaxy felt something had changed in the following days. Small messages began to pass between systems. Leaders who had never trusted each other started to exchange words without sharp edges. It was slow, it was quiet, but it was real. The old order of fear no longer stood as tall back on the station. Elias remained. He did not return to Earth right away. He walked through quiet halls, met with delegates, and answered questions with patience. He did not speak of his meetings with the princess. He only said that listening was a path often ignored, but never useless inside her chamber. Princess Lyra sat alone. The curtain still glowed before her, but its shine seemed softer. She replayed every word spoken by Elias, his calm tone, his steady eyes, his choice to never ask for her face. She wondered why that mattered to her. No one had ever held back before. Everyone wanted power or truth or proof. Elias wanted none of these. He simply wanted to understand. For many nights, she stood before her mirror, not to admire herself, but to face the curse again. The face that broke minds. The mark given by enemies long gone. She remembered the first time someone had seen her and screamed. She remembered the second, the third, the 10th. Each time, she felt herself slip further away from hope, but now, a thought returned again and again. What if Elias was right? What if the curse had power only because it was believed? What if someone could look and remain whole? She called him once more when Elias entered the chamber. It no longer felt like a place of fear. It felt like a room waiting for change. He stood where he always stood. She spoke his name for the first time. Not in greeting, but in trust. She said she wished to try something different. She said she would lift the veil. Not because he asked, not because others demanded, but because she wanted to be seen without fear. Elias did not move. He did not answer. Right away, then he said he was ready. Not because he was strong, but because he believed in her. She raised her hand. The glowing veil began to fade. The light grew softer, then thinner, until nothing remained between them. For a moment, everything stood still. He saw her eyes that carried galaxies within them, skin marked with lines that shimmered like quiet lightning. A face both alien and human in beauty. A face shaped by sorrow, strength, and time. He did not fall. He did not shake. He simply looked at her and breathed. You are not what they feared, he said. You are more. The princess blinked once. Her heart did not race. Her mind did not collapse. For the first time, she stood unveiled before another, and no harm followed, no screams, no madness. Only peace, the curse, broken not by force, but by choice. Across the galaxy, the story spread. A human had seen the face of the veiled princess and lived. A human had loved her soul before seeing her form. And when he finally saw her, he still stood. The Draxery Council changed its laws. No longer would fear rule over connection. No longer would the princess be hidden. She would walk among others, not as a symbol, but as a voice. Elias stayed by her side, not as a guardian, not as a hero, but as a friend. A bridge between two minds that should never have met, but were better for it together. They spoke across systems. They shared not weapons or threats, but stories. They showed that the galaxy did not need to be ruled by fear, but could be shaped by understanding. And in quiet places, people began to say something new. They said that sometimes the bravest act is not facing danger, but choosing to trust. That sometimes the greatest power is not behind a mask, but behind a heart willing to be seen. The story of the veiled princess and the human who saw her became more than a tale. It became a lesson, carried by stars, remembered by many. And in the quiet of that shared story, peace found a voice that could not be silenced. The end.